At least 27 people are feared dead in a fire that broke out in a building in a shopping district in the western Japanese city of Osaka, fire department officials said. The blaze affected 28 people, 27 of whom were found in a state of cardiac arrest. Local media reports said police were investigating the cause of the fire for suspected arson.
11 American missionaries and 1 Canadian freed from the Haitian gang. 2 other missionaries were released back on November 21, and 3 more earlier this month. Haitian gang captured the missionaries, as the Christian group was returning from a visit to an orphanage. The gang initially demanded a ransom of $1 million per hostage. But it's still unknown if, or how much, money was paid.
The U.S. Congress has passed a bill that requires companies to prove that goods imported from China's Xinjiang region were not produced with forced labor. The U.S. has accused China of genocide in its repression of the predominantly Muslim minority, a charge that China has repeatedly rejected.
A terrorist drone has been shot down by Royal Air Force fighter jets in Syria, the Ministry of Defense said. It was the first operational air-to-air engagement conducted by an RAF Typhoon, and the first air-to-air missile firing during operation, which is targeting the remnants of so-called Islamic State in Iraq and Syria.
Rising consumption in China, India and the United States could bring global coal-fired power demand to a new all-time high this year, undermining efforts to cut greenhouse gas emissions, the International Energy Agency said on Friday. Agency executive director said the increase was a worrying sign of how far off track the world is in its efforts to put emissions into decline towards net zero.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommended messenger RNA vaccines made by Moderna and Pfizer for use in adults over Johnson & Johnson's shot, which has been linked to rare but serious blood clots. Vaccines and boosters are becoming increasingly important as Omicron spreads across the world.
Pakistan has lost 14 lives to the coronavirus. According to NCOC, 277 new infections were detected in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate was recorded at 0.66%.
The National Command and Operations Center on Friday announced that winter vacations in educational institutions will commence from 3 Jan. 2022, except in areas affected by extreme weather conditions or smog. According to the NCOC, provincial entities will notify the winter break schedule accordingly.
The annual U.S. report on terrorism has recognized Pakistan's efforts in 2020 to counter terror financing and restrain Indian-backed militant groups from conducting attacks in Pakistan. Despite acknowledging Pakistan's efforts to combat terrorism in the region, the report claimed that terrorist groups continued to conduct attacks against Pakistani military and civilian targets in 2020.
Sialkot police on Friday claimed to have arrested 33 more primary suspects involved in the lynching of 49-year-old Sri Lankan factory manager in the city. A mob comprising hundreds of protesters, including the employees of the factory Kumara was the manager of, had tortured him to death on December 3 and later burnt his body. As many as 85 suspects have been arrested in connection with the case so far.
The central and southern areas of Punjab remained blanketed by smog, which resulted in disruption of flight and train operations in some cities of the province. Meanwhile, motorways were blocked for traffic at different spots after reports of several traffic accidents. Lahore has consistently been ranked as one of the most polluted cities in the world on the Air Quality Index for some time now.
Men's tennis world number 1 Novak Djokovic has been named the 2021 ITF World Champion for a record 7th time, while women's number 1 Ash Barty has picked up her second crown, the International Tennis Federation said on Thursday.
NASA has finally taken another step in its goal to touch the Sun. Earlier this year, the Parker Solar Probe dipped beneath the Sun's corona. Scientists believe the corona plays a large part in push solar winds. As such, understanding more about it could help us understand more about those powerful winds. Parker Solar Probe will now be able to give deeper glances at the surface of the Sun beyond the corona.